It's now the third week in a row that you're in position after 36 holes. I know you talked the last 2 weeks about it's still not there yet. You're still working on its process. Where are we on the process? Are the expectations starting to change, or?
No, and they shouldn't ever, no matter what. I mean, the idea is just what I'm trying to do is just to get better every single day, have everything feel better each day, and be able to kind of be outwardly focused versus kind of swing oriented. And the more I can shift that direction and eventually to where it can be 100% that way, the better off I'll be. So, I'm in good shape. I'm a little kind of, I wish I would have grabbed one of the last few today. Last 4 holes I had good chances, and so that kind of leaves me at, where I kind of wish I had moved up to 7 or 8 under and got a little closer, but because 6 shots is quite a feat, but on a course like this, it's one where it certainly can be done. So just try and get myself closer to the lead by the end of tomorrow. I mean, that'll be the goal.
A lot of good players seem to be missing the cut this week. It challenges a lot of it. What's the key of getting it around this place? What makes it tough?
Well, it's one of those rare weeks where you just can't get away with firing at flag sticks, and precision is so key. But being smart and recognizing, when even being precise still won't work out. I mean, there's not much rough, but when you get in the rough, it takes the spin off enough to where you can't get into pins. And so if you try and be cute with it, a lot of times when you miss the greens, it's harder from where you missed them, harder to get it closer than where you could have hit your approach shot. So you actually end up further for par than you would have had for birdie just because of where those short-sided misses go. And so you just have to be so disciplined, and it's such a different experience from what we normally have on tour, where you're used to 20 to 25 under winning, where you get away with short-siding yourself because guys' short games are so good. But here, it just doesn't happen. You just get enough little corner sections where you got to be coming from the fairway, and you got to hit a lot of shots that, like Augusta requires, where you got to work the ball the other way off of slopes that are, either kind of ride the slopes into some pins and work it. It's almost like when the pins are on the right or the left side of these greens, you almost have 2 completely different holes because your approach shots have to be either a low draw to the back left or they got to be this floaty high fade to the right. So it just requires a lot of that's why Bubba probably likes it so much, right? Because of the shot making ability that he has, and it just brings the feel out in his game.
Yeah, Jordan, obviously the last 2 weeks, we're only halfway through at this point, but I'm just kind of curious, can you be freer when you're chasing than protecting, so to speak? And I mean, obviously there's a ways to go till you get to Sunday.
Yeah,
but.
I mean, I would imagine, you can imagine that's obviously the case where you feel like you can be a little freer when it's not all on you, but when you don't feel like you're the one out in front. But I mean, the times I've won on the PGA Tour have mostly come from in front. So I promise you I'm trying to get to the lead by the end of the 54 holes.
Yeah.
But it's actually helpful on a course like this, just not really. Like Phoenix, I was like, I got to go make something happen on Saturday. Out here, you just can't think that way. You got to say, I'm going to hit to this spot, I'm going to hit to this spot. Take advantage of these opportunities. All right, I got a bad number here, play to the safe side. And it's major championship golf out here versus a lot of times, again, like I mentioned before, you just get away with your misses more on other golf courses.
This is a little off the beaten path, but I mean, it's weird with the pandemic. There's no fans out here. I mean, you obviously get a lot of you get a lot of support anyway. I wonder, as you've been making this comeback at all, because social media has been, for the last few weeks has been, I don't know how aware you are of it, but
not at all.
There's been a lot of rooting for Jordan sentiment going. You know what I'm saying? And I just wonder if you feel that vibe at all, because there's no fans out here.
Yeah. I definitely, as I just going off of Phoenix, I mean, I definitely enjoy having the crowds out more. I think we need it for professional golf.
I just mean more specifically for what does it mean when there's a lot of there's a wave of people that are kind of rooting for you to get yourself back into that spot that you're trying to get back to.
There's I purposely don't allow myself to expose myself to the good or the bad. Just made that decision a while back, and it's been really good for me and allowed me to just kind of stay on my own path and not let any outside influences kind of quiet the noise. So it's obviously great when you have the support, but when I'm out here, I mean, the momentum's nice when you make long putts, and certainly if you've been in the situation more than other guys, it's an advantage, but I still want it just as badly. I still feel the same adrenaline rush contending, the last 2 weeks, one with fans, one without. There was really no difference in how I felt on the course with it. It's just kind of more enjoyable with fans. I definitely obviously feel the support via just getting text messages from friends and family and stuff like that that I just haven't had in a while because I haven't been in position on Saturday or Sunday in a while. So I'm aware, but not exposing myself to much of it, and don't plan on it forever. So
a couple more guys. Two things off of your comments. One on text message and all that. Have you been in communication with anybody back at home and kind of what's going on back in?
Yeah, quite a bit. I had a couple pipes at my house that were leaking last night, but that's hardly the problem that a lot of people are experiencing, and it's tough. I mean, I saw a post that they said the Texas power grid was only minutes away from potentially blacking out for maybe a week, which would have been obviously disastrous. Looks like today, tomorrow, might be better, but there's a lot of people that are going to be struggling with home problems that they don't normally have, and so it stinks. I mean, on one side, I talked to my sister, and she's excited that she's able to go sledding behind the car, but on the other side, with kind of the difficulty that it presents too. So very aware of what's happening. Obviously wish the best to everyone home.
And then just on your comments about kind of the major vibe of the golf course, and forgive me if you've talked about this, but when you go back tonight, they put the whole locations out. Will you start kind of going through, because there's a little bit of a wind forecast tomorrow that's a little bit different? Will you do a little mapping out tonight, kind of on certain holes and different things?
No, I mean, I saw most of the dots, so they had tomorrow's pins, and I saw most of the dots if I'd finished the hole early. And I know, having played this tournament 7 times, where the pins are when they're in the locations that they're going to be, where that miss is, where you can't miss. What I haven't continued to look at was that wind forecast. I think it may be out of that north wind blowing heavier, which is going to be very, very different. I hit sand wedge in the 9 yesterday. That might be a long iron tomorrow. So it's going to be the opposite of what you see in the afternoon today and yesterday, which is makes the par 5s and number 10 probably harder, and then it makes some of those harder holes that you're going out. You can drive it further, but that doesn't help the ball stop on the greens on those approach shots. So it's if that's the case, if it's going to blow, then anything under par is going to be a great score.
Not looking, Jordan. Strokes gained off the tee, approach the green, around the green, and play. What are you doing the best this week? What are you doing the worst?
I probably evened everything out today from where it was after yesterday. Felt like my approach probably is probably the highest number. I mean, sometimes around the green, I don't know. They may consider me putting from the fringe as around the green, so it's hard for me to tell on that kind of strokes gained. But I hit some really, really nice approach shots today and drove the ball a lot better.
Thanks, Jordan.
Evened out? Is that the answer?